So I thought the full-time course was excellent because it gives you the opportunity to train, obviously full-time, following these principles that we're taught, and you can, because of the continuous training, you can actually see the transformations in your body happening. And because you're under constant supervision by experienced instructors and Master Chen, you can be guided throughout throughout the whole course. And this, I think, is very important for people to make progress, because if I wasn't here on the full-time course, I would have totally gone off on my own, what I thought would have been the best way to train. But with the full-time, I've kept on track constantly, and I thought that was excellent. The practical method is extremely practical in that, like I said, you can feel the changes happening in your body. It's not a superficial system. You can also, at a more advanced level, feel the differences when handling people during push hands, and especially your form. So I thought the full-time course was excellent for me to prepare myself to go out on my own and continue my training, and I feel that I have a deep enough understanding that I can go off and train on myself and continue progressing.
So my own experience with a full-time program, it's definitely a situation where what happens to your body is not something that would happen if you train once a week. In particular, I can say that at the beginning, so before I came here, I'll say I did maybe a year and a half training with Carl Lindbergh and Todd Elihu in Athens, Georgia, enough that I felt like I had some idea of what the practical method Tai Chi is trying to do, and felt like my body had kind of begun to get a sense of it. But my experience doing it full-time every day for hours, the very first few weeks were actually sort of appalling to me, because I realized, on the one hand, that there was a depth to the movements that I hadn't appreciated, and that's sort of psychologically daunting. And another thing was that I found that by doing it every day in the way that my body was able to do it, that my knees began to hurt a lot doing everything. And I was worried that I might not be able to continue throughout the whole course, because I couldn't go in I couldn't bend my knees at all, really, without some kind of pain. And so that was a bad thing at the beginning. And I was, like I said, afraid that I wouldn't be able to continue. And that's something that I would not have arrived at doing it once a week for an hour, because there wasn't enough intensity to really challenge my body to do something that it couldn't really, more or less already do. But so moving forward from that, at first very daunting, both in my understanding of what's happening and realizing that my body isn't really able to do this. But what I found was that by doing the practice and following the instructions of Master Chen, that one of the changes that began to happen was that my hips began to have more flexibility and were more able to absorb some of the motions that, rather than torquing my knee, that my body was able to adjust in other ways to compensate, to begin to move more correctly. But the problem was that that I wasn't moving correctly and actually putting strain on my knees, which I hadn't noticed before because I hadn't been doing it enough for that to cause a problem. And by the end of the course, I realized I can go all day and not have any problem at all. And I can do 40 ilus in a day without having any kind of pain in my joints. And actually, times I do have pain in my joints, that's when I realize I'm doing something wrong, that I've gone too far in one direction, I've overextended my knee and I'm putting a bad strain on it. And my knee tells me it doesn't want to do that. But that's only when I'm doing something incorrect. And so that's something that it was a problem that would not have arisen not doing it full time, and it's a solution that would not have arisen had I not had the full-time both practice and instruction.
For I guess a year before I came, I got interested into Tai Chi, and I'd done a little bit on my own, but I quickly realized that to learn Tai Chi on your own is not the way to go, that you need somebody to instruct you properly.
So what do you mean on your own? Like
I was just practicing forms. I had gotten videos online and learned forms on my own and did them at home for maybe an hour a day. But yeah, like I said, I quickly realized that to learn Tai Chi, I think you really need to focus on it 100%, and I thought the full-time course was an excellent opportunity to do that.
How did you find us?
Online. I found you online. I had typed in full-time Tai Chi course, and you were the only one that popped up, actually. Yeah.
So you wanted to do Tai Chi full-time, first of all, and then that's what...
Yeah. And luckily I found a good school that was able to bring me to the point I'm at now.
I had thought about it because I had heard about it from Carl and Todd, and I came to a moment where I realized when I hear of other people doing this sort of thing, taking that kind of time out of their life to do one thing intensively, I always would feel envious, think, oh, I wish I could do something like that. Because they get a quality of movement out of it that you don't get from doing it occasionally or casually. And I could see that in Carl and Todd and other people that I've known in other areas, that doing something intensively gets you something that you don't get doing it casually, even for 10 years. So I'd seen the result of this sort of thing in other people and realized that it's something that I envied, and then realized I had the opportunity to do that myself. So I decided to.
I remember right from the very beginning, I mentioned this idea.
And I feel like I'm at a point where, and I've felt like this, as I've said, for the past month, it felt like at each moment that I'm beginning to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of the course here, I feel like, okay, I can see what I'm trying to do. I can see my body beginning to do these things. I feel like I'm beginning to be able to practice Tai Chi in a productive way. So I'm certainly not done after 3 months. I'll say at the beginning I had studied some already and had some ideas, but not enough of an idea to really practice productively on my own. I didn't have enough of an idea of what the body is supposed to be doing, or enough ability with my own body to notice what it's doing. And after this course, I do feel like I have enough of those understandings that I could go and spend a year practicing on my own and continue to progress throughout that year.
So what you're saying is that after the 3 months, you feel that you know enough of the foundations, you know enough stuff in Tai Chi that are correct enough that you can continue to practice on your own, so that in the future you can end up with a higher level ability. So you think the foundation is there?
I do think that.
Okay. Do you share this view, Matt?
Yeah, I said that earlier in the one-on-one interview, that yeah, I feel prepared enough to be able to go out on my own and practice Tai Chi to a certain level, and then I'm going to come back, do another full time, and progress even more like that.
That will be interesting by the end of the next full time on Daqingshan in China, and I will be asking you again what you feel. It will be interesting to hear what you feel at that time. One of the things Alex mentioned is that during the process of learning full time for 3 months, he started to feel that he's getting it, and the ideas are coming, and then there are more ideas, and of course every time you feel you're getting it, then there is another time the next day that you feel that you're getting a better idea. The idea becomes more and more clear. Did you go through that process?
Yeah, because I was exposed to the same, I mean, right from the beginning I was taught the same things that I was taught until the end, but you don't actually realize them right at the beginning. The simple understanding of it isn't enough. So being on the full time and being constantly told and reminded of the same principles over and over and over, I was actually able to realize and understand, have a deep understanding of these things.
The reason that I picked up on this point is because this is very, very clear, important, And you both have enunciated this very